Okay, hello everybody and welcome back to PMGT 4030, the Project Management Laboratories. We walk through the PMBOK guide, the Project Management Body of Knowledge, and Rita Mulcahy's book to give you a firm foundation and an understanding of project management end to end. This is really essentially the boot camp of some project management training that would prepare you for the exam. It's also foundational, integral to just life in the world, because so much what we do is a project no matter what industry we end up working in. So here is a look at the objectives of this lesson as well as a couple of follow-on lessons. This program requires me to break it up into smaller lessons that I'm used to, so these objectives will apply to week 1. Okay, so as we look at projects, we want to consider how did we get there? What are the triggers? What makes a project? And so we start with the body of knowledge, which is for us the project management BOK. And we apply skills that we learn here and knowledge, skills learned over life like interpersonal skills, management skills, and the knowledge of the PMBOK guide to meet the needs of our customers. This knowledge are proven entities and emerging concepts also, always applying best practices as able to build methodologies. A methodology means how I'm going to do something. So the PMBOK guide itself is a framework, it's a guide, but you don't have to use all of it. Or you could add to it for your company's best practices or culture to build a methodology. So your project management plan has to be built, and it becomes how I'm going to do my project. And in that we'll have many subsidiary plans, like a scope management plan and a stakeholder management plan. And those are how I'm going to manage scope and collect scope, how I'm going to manage stakeholders and collect information. So in general, the PMBOK guide has generally recognized principles that are applicable to most everybody around the world. And so these are not best practices, but good practices applicable around the globe. And there's general agreement on their usefulness. So as a result, keep in mind that the PMBOK guide, as you read it, is not prescriptive. Okay? It is not prescriptive. It will describe things that you should consider as a project manager with your team to meet stakeholders' needs and tailor the application to develop a project plan. Okay? So projects in context, see section 1.2.1 of the PMBOK guide. Projects in context are temporary and unique. And their unique product, service, or result. That's really the definition of a deliverable. So this is a project. And these projects are triggered because of multiple things. There's market demand. There's business process improvement, like if I wanted to develop a training course. Technological advance, like the Apple iPad. Maybe social and environmental considerations, like a greener way to build trucks that deliver packages around the world, and these sort of things. So look at the project triggers. If you take the exam, that would be considered. But even if you're a business person or just a business person or someone working in a business, these are the things that should trigger project ideas in your mind. Keep in mind also that it may not just be one project, that multiple projects may be needed to accomplish the objectives of the company. Okay? To understand how projects and corporate strategy tie together, we have to understand some terms first. Like a PMO, which is a project management office. They're a stakeholder. In fact, later in stakeholder management, we'll learn that a stakeholder is an individual, group, or organization. And here's an example of that. But then it will apply governance to your projects below it, and policies, and The methodologies, those are the how I'm going to do something. It will provide you templates. It will even assign project managers to the coursework. And then, of course, we have to understand a portfolio, which are a group of projects, programs, or portfolios, and operations as well. Operations is not project management. Operations is sustained, repeatable processes, where in project management, it is temporary and unique by definition. So it's not repeatable, sustained. We are repeating operations, but we're trying to develop the consistency that produces a regular deliverable. So it's not operations, though they do share repetitive elements for different reasons. And so there is, in a portfolio, these projects, programs, or portfolios, they may or may not be related. Frankly, what has them in common is that they're all tied to some strategic objective. Now, a program is a group of related projects that the benefits increase by the projects being related to each other. So instead of managing a project to build bicycle tires and a bicycle frame as separate, they each become projects, and together they become a program, because there are benefits to understanding the size of the tires that fits into the frame. Those projects, though different, are related, and there are benefits available that you wouldn't have for managing them individually. And remember, I said a project is temporary or unique. The unique temporary nature is it's a beginning and an end date, and it will end. But unique is the deliverable. That's a product, by definition, result, or capability to perform a service. And so it's important to recognize that the PMO ties the corporate strategy to the projects, either a portfolio or a program or projects themselves. And even the portfolio ties it to ops. Now, it's important also to recognize that projects drive change. Page 6 of the PMBOK guide. That business value is the return to stakeholders. So we would call that return on investment. It's some sort of quantifiable benefit. Can be, tangible or intangible. So, but we'll use that to take the current state through the project to some future state where the objective is achieved. So the projects really enable business value creation, which is very exciting. Okay. So project management applies the knowledge, skills, and tools to meet the requirements. Badly run projects have these attributes in mind. This deadlines, cost overruns. Good project management is going to avoid that, and that's what we're going to be learning in this course and Rita's book, etc. Now, a little bit about the phases and life cycle. A life cycle is a series of project phases from start to finish. And in fact, I've got a good picture here about life cycles that in the PMBOK guide is going to talk about life cycles in a generic sense. It's going to talk about them in terms of initiating, planning, executing, controlling, and closing. What I call IPEC for short. And in IPEC, I will start, and the PMBOK guide, remember, is a framework. I can take every process with its inputs, tools, and outputs that create deliverables, and I can take every process and use them within my corporate life cycle. So IT is going to have a separate life cycle. Software development has generally an agile life cycle. Construction has its own life cycle. Every industry has a life cycle. And the PMBOK guide, the processes with the inputs, tools, and outputs, fits neatly within those. So in this case, we have design, and then a design part 2 life cycle, and then a transition life cycle. And so I start out with initiating, planning, executing, controlling, and closing. When I close the first life cycle phase, I go then to initiation of the next life cycle phase. And I'm going to do that from a perspective of not just the project, which has a beginning and end date, but from the product life cycle. The product life cycle takes the project from, so the project life cycle starts with the initiation all the way to closing and delivering the product to operations. But the product life cycle started with the project but goes on beyond the project. So Tide with Bleach, I use as an example. With Tide with Bleach, it started as a project. Once the project is turned over to operations, the product life cycle continues. The project life cycle has concluded. Keep in mind, too, on this slide, there are forms of project life cycles, and you'll need to know that for the exam. There's the predictive life cycle, which is what we generally learn in the PMBOK guide. The adaptive life cycles, iterative, incremental, and hybrid, and the definitions are there for your choosing. Okay, that concludes this portion. I will do the next lesson in just a moment. Thank you.